Guest Professor Liu Baocheng from the University of International Business and Economics here in the studio to discuss Shenzhen's transformation. President Xi Jinping has been touring Guangdong province, where Shenzhen is located. He's there to review economic and social development in the province and economic powerhouse in southern China. And earlier this week, he was in Chaozhou. It's a city known for its rich history and robust technological development. It's also the ancestral home of many overseas Chinese communities in Southeast Asia. Now, Zheng Chunying tells us more about the visit and also the city.
A higher level of self-reliance. That's what Chinese President Xi Jinping called for as he visited the Chaozhou Three-Circle Group, an electronic component and communication device manufacturer.
We're now confronted with profound changes unseen a century. Under such circumstances, we must take the path of self-reliance, which is based on independent innovation. I expect you to grasp the strategic intentions of the CPC Central Committee and accurately position yourself under the guidance of the overall strategy so as to make your due contributions to the prosperity and modernization of our country.
While touring the city, Xi also visited local cultural and historical landmarks. His mission: to check on the restoration and protection of cultural relics, intangible cultural heritage, and the development of cultural and tourism industries. Xi Jinping encouraged people in Chaozhou to improve their old city.
Chaozhou is a famous cultural city with a long history. It's precious and rare. We need to study it well, love it, take care of it, and develop it well. Chaozhou boasts many treasures. Over the past years, it has kept flourishing and thriving. It has promising prospects. I hope our people and comrades in Chaozhou will seize the great opportunity, build on the strong momentum, and take further actions to build it into an even better city.
The president will attend a celebration for the 40th anniversary of the Shenzhen Special Economic Zone. That helped kickstart China's transformation, turning Shenzhen from a fishing village into a high-tech hub. Zheng Chunying, CGTN.
Now, Dai Kai takes a brief look at the history of Shenzhen as a special economic zone and the key moments in its development.
This is the heart of Shenzhen's tech sector. With more than 200 industrial parks starting the map in Nanshan district, the area has over 1,000 high-tech startups. The city is an innovation paragon for China, as hundreds of futuristic high-rises dominate the skyline. But 40 years ago, it was nothing more than a small town bordering Hong Kong. It came into the limelight after China designated it as the vanguard of the country's reform and opening up.
How do we innovate the structure to unleash productivity potential in the Special Economic Zone? The concept was unprecedented back then. The only way to explore was to test through trial and error.
From the first stock issuance to the establishment of its first stock exchange, the city has been pressing ahead with what's known as Shenzhen Speed. It's not only the first city in the country to reform an income distribution system, but also the first to start project bidding. Shenzhen took over 1,000 top spots in rankings of wide-ranging reforms nationwide over the past 40 years. As recently as March this year, the southern metropolis pressed on to optimize business environment, empowering the initiative with an edge at its fingertips: technology. At the same time, Shenzhen has launched a reform experiment of state-owned enterprises and carried out a series of similar projects in healthcare, fiscal budgets, and land administration.
We should speed up in-depth reform and opening up in the Qianhai Cooperation Zone and join hands with Hong Kong and Macau to further open to overseas and make better use of global resources to continue support for the development of the Guangdong, Hong Kong, Macau Greater Bay Area.
More than just another densely populated city in China, Shenzhen has heavily depended on innovation. It's leading the game in fields such as metamaterials, gene sequencing, and flexible display, and is home to technology giants such as Huawei, Tencent, and DJI. New enterprises sprout like mushrooms here in the subtropical climate of Shenzhen. It is home to around 17,000 high-tech startups with a production value of 2.62 trillion yuan. It's built up more than 46,000 5G base stations, becoming the first city in China to have full-scale 5G network coverage.
Scientific and technological innovation and institutional innovation go hand in hand. In the future, we will further explore the system of scientific research and talent services, forming a new pattern with which Shenzhen and Hong Kong can jointly serve the development of the Greater Bay Area and build an innovative national environment.
A year ago, Shenzhen was designated as a demonstration pilot zone to prepare for more pressing tasks on the city's agenda. It went from zero to one of the core engines for the Greater Bay Area and is expected to turn the area into a vibrant, world-class city cluster someday. 戴凯一 CGTN.
Well, 4 decades ago, as Shenzhen was building up its skyscrapers at an unprecedented pace, late Chinese leader Deng Xiaoping set the country on a course of reform with the special economic zones as a key component. And many construction workers were able to make a steady income to support their families in the process. CGTN's Zhao Yunfei visits a family of workers who have helped construct the iconic Guomao building there.
Shenzhen's Guomao building contains special memories for many, including Wang Shungao and his family. Wang came to Shenzhen 4 decades ago to participate in the construction of the building. Then he decided to stay. Witnessing how the city has developed, Wang says he's proud of his contribution.
When we were building Guomao, the only high-rise was a mall near us. As we went taller than the mall, we got excited. Then we made it even taller, and we could see Hong Kong behind the mountains.
With a height of 160 meters, Guomao was built in just 3 years from 1983 to 1985, a speed that seemed impossible. Hardship were expected, but Wang says he had not only given his toil and sweat, but also received love. He met his wife Du Xianfang, another construction worker, on the site. Going through archive photos, memories came back.
We simply thought that this was a project that carried the hopes of people around the country. We felt that we could do it well, do it fast, and be worthy of their trust.
Shenzhen Guomao was once the tallest skyscraper in China. That's no longer the case today, but the high-rise still represents the spirit of Shenzhen's ambition and the speed of development. It encourages the young generation here to carry on the city's legacy. Zhao Yunfei, CGTN, Shenzhen, Guangdong Province.
Now let's talk more about the 40 years of Shenzhen with our guest, Professor Liu Baocheng, Dean of Center of International Business Ethics, University of International Business and Economics. Welcome to our special coverage on the 40th birthday of Shenzhen. Prior to the birthday, actually, there is a very significant document released by the central government about the development of Shenzhen. And one highlight in the 5-year plan is that Shenzhen local government will have more autonomy, especially on the identification of land property. How significant is that?
Well, the success, or rather miracle, of Shenzhen is primarily due to deregulation from the central government, and by delegating more of the autonomy to the local government, and then the local government is there to be empowered to facilitate the entire market operation of all the factors of production. So that's really paved the way for the economic miracle in the small town of Shenzhen. So you can see that over the past 4 decades, the Shenzhen's GDP has grown over 10,000 times. So deregulation, and also to encourage the private sectors to grow on an exponential speed, where you do not really see so many SOEs or state-owned enterprises over there. And third is the rule of law. So we do notice the first law firm was opened in Shenzhen across China, and also the arbitration panels over there, and then the preferential tax system to attract the foreign businesses and also the compatriot businesses from Taiwan, Hong Kong in particular. So it's really a glamorous transformation. So Shenzhen used to be a manufacturing hub and Hong Kong serving as the shopping mall. And now they are really, leveraging each other. So, and lastly, I think the most important factor is finance. Because Shenzhen was the first one to have the stock exchange, and I still remember, 30 years ago, so many people really carried money sacks to play with the stock exchange. So that really fueled the productivity and also the skill expansion of those smaller businesses.
It was like a gold rush at the time, indeed. But we'll break down all the achievements of Shenzhen and also the challenges it may be facing at the moment in our special coverage. So stay tuned for all that. Now, Chinese leaders have unveiled a new 5-year plan, as we just discussed, for the city. It follows the guidelines issued in August last year. Let's take a closer look.
At the heart of Shenzhen's big plan for more reform and opening up is more autonomy for the government of the Special Economic Zone. One highlight is support for developing capital markets. Shenzhen will reform its Nasdaq-style Chinex index and pilot a new registration-based IPO system. Innovative enterprises will be allowed to issue stocks or depository receipts, attracting foreign-funded firms on the Chinex market. In line with national policies, Shenzhen will also relax market access in the fields of energy, telecommunications, public utilities, transportation, and education. The restrictions on foreign investment in frontier technology fields will also be loosened. Another focus is on the land management system. Under the new plan, it will be up to the local government to approve the conversion of agricultural land for use by industry and the service sectors. Shenzhen will improve its labor mobility system and deepen reform of the household registration system. As for other measures, opening up in the finance sector will be expanded. More efforts are promised to advance the renminbi's internationalization and improve the foreign exchange management system. Domestic companies in Shenzhen are encouraged to list on foreign stock markets. The city will pilot the legal protection of new intellectual property rights and establish a compensation system for IPR infringements. Shenzhen will also help foreign talent obtain Chinese permanent residence permits and take professional qualification exams. So 2020 marks the beginning of the campaign, with major reform measures planned. In 2 years, significant institutional achievements are to be made. 2025 should see landmark achievements in key sectors. The pilot reform tasks will be basically completed. With all these measures in place, Shenzhen's goals are clear and ambitious, and its record inspires confidence that it will achieve them. Gao Yiming, CGTN.
Now let's get back to Professor Liu Baocheng. Well, you mentioned all the achievements of Shenzhen during the past 40 years, but in terms of the concept of more autonomy for the local governments, how is it different from other places in China?
Well, at the onstart, the Shenzhen was identified as a special economic zone. It was made special first in terms of the tax preferentials for all businesses, be it domestic and foreign. And they used to enjoy a flat tax of 15%, while the rest of the country, companies have to pay 33% of the tax. So that was really a magnet to attract all businesses, at least to register a subsidiary over there. And also that when other export and import companies can only deal with one port, for example, if you're in Hebei province, you can only export from Qinhuangdao or Tianjin. But for any company in Shenzhen, you can export from every port of the country. And then I think more importantly is that the government are given such an autonomy where, they cut down all the red tapes to not only in terms of approving the establishment of business, but also to provide the infrastructure support and also to address some of the difficult issues, like in terms of identification and affirmation of property rights. and also to allow businesses to have equity positions for those who have done tremendous contribution in technological innovation. And this was not really permissible in other part of the country. I still remember that our colleagues 30 years ago, they all plunged into the sea, and because they receive far higher pay. That's 10 times more than what we earn on the campus. So therefore they plunge into Shenzhen. Now they become big CEOs and business leaders.
Well, based on what you just said, that Shenzhen has been adopting a rather different set of policies. But do you think that is copyable? Do you think other places in China can copy the same mechanism in Shenzhen and the same pace of development?
Well, people talk about the big contrast between the reformation of China versus the Russia. So Russia had a big bang approach, and then they failed virtually. So China took a gradualist approach and used Shenzhen and other four the special economic zones as a lab. And when they became successful, actually in the mid of the 90s, in the 80s, actually all the coastal cities, altogether 14 of them, copied them in terms of the special development zones. And things were made on a far larger scale. And also with experience accumulated, we expanded along the river ports, cities along the Yangtze River, and now in Beijing and in Wuhan and Shanghai, etc., we have high-tech zones. So it's not only proliferating, but also it's really upgrading and taking the advantage of local resources. Like Beijing has a lot more universities, so high-tech park is more established.
Right. Okay. We'll leave it there just now, and we'll cross over to our reporter Tang Bo, who is now standing by at Shenzhen. The ceremony in the city is about to start. Hello there, Tang Bo. So what's going on there?
Hi, Dongning. This is the Qianhai International Convention Center, where the celebration of the 40th anniversary of the establishment of the Shenzhen Special Economic Zone is about to kick off in less than 30 minutes. And today, more than 800 guests will be participating for the grand gathering, among which there are representatives of entrepreneurs, grassroots workers, and also those from the universities and colleges, foreign diplomats, and also government officials from Hong Kong, Macau, special administrative regions, and so on. And later on, President Xi Jinping is going to deliver an important speech. We don't know yet what the speech is all about, but based on what we've seen here at the convention center, the banners and slogans, the speech is expected to touch upon the achievements of the economic zone over the past 4 decades and the role it has been playing in China's overall development strategies, as well as the new plans that aims to transform the city into a leading example of socialism with Chinese characteristics. And also, Secretary of the Municipal CPC Party Committee of Shenzhen, as well as representatives of entrepreneurs and grassroots workers, would also speak at the celebration. And this kind of arrangement highlights the efforts made by not only the municipal government of Shenzhen and business leaders, but also hundreds of thousands of grassroots workers, unknown to the public, who also made great contributions to the development of the economic zone over the past 4 decades. And today, I want to talk a little bit more about the logo of the celebration today. Let's take a look. The logo 40, of course, represents the 40th anniversary of the founding of the Special Economic Zone. But if we take a closer look at it, we can find that there's a star in number 4 and a loving heart in number 0. So the star represents the city's future, a star of tomorrow, highlighting its role in China's overall development strategies, while the heart, on the other hand, looks at Shenzhen as a city of love, innovation, and inclusiveness. So the city welcomes everyone to come over to visit, to live and work, and further realize their dreams. We know that China unveiled a detailed plan on Sunday to deepen the reform and introduce new pilot schemes to the city. And the plan outlines out-ranging reforms to be implemented in Shenzhen, such as in legal, financial, technological, institutional, and social sectors. So 40 years of development is just the beginning, and driven by the development of the Guangdong, Hong Kong, Macau, Greater Bay Area, as well as the promise of these new pilot schemes. Expectations are high here that Shenzhen will push forward and strengthen China's reform and opening up. Dong-Ning.
Thank you very much indeed, Tang Bo, reporting from Shenzhen. And our reporter Omar Han is in Shenzhen as well. He's joined by two guests with insight on Shenzhen's role in China's overall development.
Well, Li Dong-Ning, thank you very much, and a warm welcome to all our viewers joining us here for our special coverage of Shenzhen, celebrating 40 years since being marked as a special economic zone. Obviously, that's brought tremendous change to the city in terms of innovation, people's lives, and it's become a model for other cities and even other parts around the world. And as you mentioned, I'm joined by two wonderful guests today. We're looking forward to a fantastic conversation here about the changes they've also seen here in Shenzhen. With me today is Dr. Wu Haifeng, who's based here at the Shenzhen Finance Institute, also spends time in Hong Kong looking at cross-border trade and the latest developments in the economy here in South China, and Dr. Marianne O'Donnell, who spent over 2 decades here in Shenzhen. Yeah, that's right, 2 decades, that's quite a long time, and who's authored a book, Learning from Shenzhen. So she's seen on-the-ground changes here taking place, and it's often referred to as China's Silicon Valley. But before we get into our discussion today, we've put together some of the numbers that define Shenzhen's transformation over 4 decades. That includes the economic changes in terms of businesses coming here, and of course, people's livelihoods. Take a look. Remnants of Shenzhen's past can still be found here, a part of Guangdong province that was previously defined by paddy fields and fishing villages. But fast forward 40 years of special economic zone status, and the city has transformed into a cosmopolitan hub leading China in the fields of technology and innovation. 40 years ago, Shenzhen's per capita GDP was just under 900 yuan. By the end of 2019, that number skyrocketed to just over 200,000. And though it's not the be-all, end-all, last year Shenzhen's annual growth stood at just over 20%, putting it in the top 5 across Asia. With all of its policies pushing forward China's economic development, Shenzhen is also at the forefront of the Greater Bay Area connecting Hong Kong, Macau, and all of Guangdong province. That also makes it one of the most competitive cities for foreign trade, import-export, not only in China, but the entirety of Southeast Asia. From under 20 million US dollars to just over 430 billion US dollars. That's the city's 40-year jump in terms of total imports and exports. And with an average annual growth of more than 25% when it comes to export volume, Shenzhen has held top spot amongst all Chinese cities for nearly 3 decades. The Ping An Finance Center, an iconic and defining feature of Shenzhen's skyline, and it's exactly stunning buildings like this that showcase the type of enterprises now calling this city their home. Often dubbed as China's Silicon Valley, the city has upped its reputation for bringing more and more global Fortune 500 companies to South China. The likes of Huawei, Tencent, and DJI are inseparable from Shenzhen's identity as a leading tech hub. That's all because of the city's innovative ecosystem. Fostering nearly 20,000 national high-tech enterprises, Shenzhen has accounted for over 30% of China's PCT applications. Globally, telecom giants Huawei and ZTE ranked 1st and 5th respectively for patent application filings in 2019. But with so much more now defining the southern metropolis, the path forward looks bright for this future-oriented city. So some incredible growth there, and obviously those figures and numbers are not the only barometer or a measuring stick of looking of how successful a city can be. There are the stories of the people, the experiences, I should say, of those who have been here, and those are the discussion, those are the topics we're going to be getting to here as we engage in our special coverage of Shenzhen's 40 years as a special economic zone. Marianne, let's start with you. I mentioned there at the top, 25 years in this city. That's you had also told me that's probably more than about 10, 15 million people here in the city. Yeah. I know it's hard to kind of condense 25 years being here, but what are some of the changes you've seen, perhaps on the ground from the people who've come here and who are living here?
I think one of the biggest changes is that Shenzhen has become a more integrated city, right? So when I came here in 1995, to get from where we are, right, in downtown Shenzhen, to get to Shenzhen University, right?
How long?
About an hour.
Okay.
Right? And now if you're in a car, it's like 15, 20 minutes.
Sure.
Right? And when I was at Shenzhen University, if you wanted to get from the university, and then you go further into Shekou to downtown Shenzhen, right? So two epicenters of the reform experiment. If you could get one of the little buses, 2 hours.
Wow.
And so we would plan, okay, I'm going down to Shenzhen. And we would say, I am going to Shenzhen. I am going to Shenzhen.
But now you're in the city proper.
Now we're in the city proper, yeah.
So that's one aspect there. You can look at how 40 years, or 25 years I should say, transportation, that's actually transformed. So the efficiency that's been brought here. But you've also written about Shenzhen. You've looked at it, I guess you could say, through a cultural lens as an anthropologist. You've also said Shenzhen is a city of urban villages.
Yes.
I was hoping maybe you could expand on that. That's something, you think of a city, you don't really think of the word village. That doesn't come to mind. Right. But Shenzhen has that.
Yes. Well, what people tend to forget, especially now, is that Shenzhen used to be Bao'an County. It was a rural area. So when I came, the big discussion about what can Shenzhen teach China, what kind of experimentation is Shenzhen doing, was all about rural urbanization.
Okay.
So when they started the development, basically there were already villages here, and the villages were left alone. And so what we have is side-by-side urbanization. You've got urbanization that's being led by the master plan, but then you also have specific villages that were engaged in renovating and upgrading their hometowns.
Like an internal, so it's coming from both sides.
It's coming from both sides. And what happens is that when the first groups of the engineering corps came, when the first pioneers came, they set up next to the villages because that way they had access to food, they had access to water.
Living space
because you know, in the first decade, what you were putting in infrastructure. You had to put in water lines, you had to put in electrical lines, you had to put in roads.
It's the foundation of a city, yeah.
Right, you had to put in the grid. The grid did not exist here.
That's true.
And so where would you go for food if you're off grid?
Yeah. The villages.
The villages. Yeah. And so the villages took those economic opportunities and self-urbanized. And then as the city proper expanded, they got surrounded. And so in Chinese we say 城中村, because the city basically surrounded the villages. But the villages were here first.
They were here?
Yeah. They were here first.
That's all, whenever someone brings up Shenzhen, they always say there's that coin line, okay, it used to be a bunch of fishing village, paddy fields, and now we have this modern metropolis.
That's true.
Dr. Wu, I want to ask you from a financial, I guess from an economic development standpoint.
Yes.
Maybe you haven't been here as Marianne has mentioned, 25
right.
years, you said you've been here on 2 or 3 years.
That's true, yeah.
But could you give us a bit of an economic perspective on the changes, especially the policies that have been put in place? Special economic zone, a lot of people who don't have that in perhaps their country may not understand what are the pilot programs, the sort of initiatives taking place there. What is special about this SEZ?
Well, my understanding of the word in pilots means you are able to try different methods, different kind of the methodologies about business model, about how the economy going to grow. That is a privilege I think the central government gave to Shenzhen back to 40 years ago, right? Before that, I mean, everything in China was a planned economy kind of state. Everything you need to operate the business, you're opening companies, factories, even the breakfast store, right? Too many documentations, and sometimes there are lots of restrictions about business, right? So the pilot means that you are able to try different ways.
It's experimental.
Experimental kind of things, right? So after that, I mean, because if you never find out what is best for you without trying, without trial, so
that logically is sound.
That's true. That's true. So Shenzhen have the first foreign-owned factories, first foreign-owned companies, first foreign-owned financial institutions give lots of experience for Chinese businessmen, for Chinese kind of government, right? So back to that time, so Shenzhen was the first cities. They have the Chinese businessmen go to overseas to raise capitals, to explore the market without trial and errors, without the privilege of the city autonomies. Right. You are not able to found a modern city like Shenzhen, as you can see today.
But those the removal of red tape, the ease of, I suppose you could say, the ease of doing business, of making that sort of those bureaucratic processes a bit easier. That couldn't be done with the influx of so many people who came here. If for anyone who does know anything about Shenzhen, or even many of the major cities in Guangdong, that is, there's a high reliance. The majority of, you could say, factory workers or that low-skilled labor are migrant workers. I wanted to ask you, Marianne, you've spoken with people here over 2 decades of not only locals from those fishing villages, but people who have come here. I don't know if you specifically asked them what are their views on being marked as a special economic zone. No one walks down the street thinking, oh, I live in a city that's an SEZ, but what are some of the things that you've heard from locals here and who've come here in terms of the changes perhaps they've seen in Shenzhen?
I want to first make clear something about immigration to Shenzhen. Shenzhen has benefited not only from rural to urban migration, but urban to urban migration.
Okay.
And so in this sense, Shenzhen's migration story is closer to Chicago than it would be to an already established city, right? So when we think of Guangzhou, we've already got established infrastructure and society. We've got universities, we've got managers. And so the people who are coming in are filling in positions that have been made open. Shenzhen migrants, however, had the chance to fill in those top positions as well. And so this dual kind of migration has meant that different kinds of people in different levels of society all had a chance to try something they would not necessarily have had a chance to do back home. So that you hear stories of young architects saying, their father was an architect, but he was 40 or 50 years old before he designed his first building. And in Shenzhen, in college, they're working on a major project, and as soon as they graduate, they're drawing plans. They're off. If you talk to medical personnel, they got a chance to try new public sanitation programs here, because everything had to start over. So it's not just that, if you came from the rural areas, you got a chance to go into a factory and learn about how do you live in a city. But if you came from another city, you got a chance to come here and get a chance to jump immediately into this production, into society. And so it's all levels of society. And so most people who've come to Shenzhen, we used to call it, when it wasn't Shenzhen, we called it Tequ, the special zone. And what was special about the special zone was who you could become here.
So it's kind of rebranding yourself, finding your own sort of path, your own story. I wanted to jump in here. You had mentioned young people. You don't need years or decades of experience. You can come here and find success. I'm assuming you were talking about, this is still when Shenzhen was growing and at that early stage. Shenzhen is currently, in the present days, often referred to as a city where young people come and still look for opportunities.
Of course.
The high talent, we often refer to the high talents of tech, the entrepreneurs, they come here. What is that directly linked to being a special economic zone, or is that something else what kind of grew out of Shenzhen's history?
Well, we have to talk about history first, right? Back to the 40 years ago, right? If you want to migrate from one city to other cities, many documentation requirements, right? The hukou policies, the population management policies, restrict people from the one city to other cities, or from the rural area to the urban.
Right.
So the Shenzhen was the first cities they break out these kind of rules, right? So they were saying that while you are visiting Shenzhen, you are Shenzhenese people. So people want those young migrants, especially young migrants, because the old generations, they have the proper position in their hometown, so they have the reluctance to come to the younger cities. But for the young people, they have the energy, right, to do the business.
I still have energy.
Yeah,
still young.
Energy, right?
I still have energy. Yes.
But when they visit Shenzhen, they feel the city have the enormous feeling of inclusiveness.
Okay.
So they be part of the city. They feel they are the Shenzhenese people. So they can, as Marian said, they can try different things. Different positions, different jobs, and they can implement their ideas.
It is interesting that you mentioned that, because I don't know how much interaction you have with foreigners here in Shenzhen, but I'll often hear them saying, "Oh, the Shenzhen is a city with no culture. It's no history. It's so young. It's still in that fresh stage, and it's still moving forward as development." I'm going to just put a quick pause on our conversation. We're going to go through a story right now. My colleague Judan in Hong Kong, she sat down with the former chief executive of Hong Kong, Liang Jianying, to hear his thoughts on what he's witnessed over the past 40 years happen here in Shenzhen. And not only that, but also the cooperation between the special administrative region and the southern city. Take a look.
40 years ago, you were a professional surveyor going to Shenzhen, helping with land reform and urban planning of the city. What were your thoughts at that time?
It's a very impressive experience, being able to participate in the early stages of Shenzhen's planning and development, and to be able to see how my own vision of Shenzhen 40 years ago has been exceeded in many, many ways and many, many times over. Well, it was pretty barren at that time, with a sparse population of about 20,000. When we were asked to help, we were volunteers doing a pro bono for the country, plan the first city plan of Shenzhen Special Economic Zone. The population target, so we were told, was 300,000. And we had a good debate with the Shenzhen officials, and we said, where on earth would you get 300,000 people to come and live here? And now, as we know, it's well over 10 million people. So that's very impressive. That really gives you a sense of the speed of development of the city. It's totally historic and totally unprecedented. I can't think of another city anywhere in the world that has that kind of speed.
Such has been Shenzhen's remarkable rise. There's now a temptation to compare it to Hong Kong, and many commentators are doing this. Is this fair?
Well, the two cities are actually very different. And I think the differences between Hong Kong and Shenzhen make us very good partners, and we have been in the last 40 years to mutual benefits. And I think going forward in the next 40 years or 100 years, I think we'll continue to work together. Without Shenzhen, Hong Kong's manufacturing sector would not have been able to expand in terms of its total volume. And without Shenzhen, we would not be able to relinquish part of the resources and redeploy the resources that were previously engaged in the manufacturing sector to develop our high value-added services sector. And even if you look at the financial sector, which people talk about quite a lot in Shenzhen nowadays, and say if Shenzhen goes ahead and develop its own financial services sector, would it impede Hong Kong's own development? I say no, because if you look at the contents of the financial services sector now, it is actually quite focused on, for example, commercial banking and the stock market. And if you look at the insurance sector, it's basically sort of life insurance. So we are very focused, and the sectors, subsectors are pretty narrow. With Shenzhen, we can expand the financial services sector together, and we could become something like New York or London, Tokyo, Osaka.
So that's a former Hong Kong chief executive, Liang Jianying, talking about Hong Kong and Shenzhen have complemented each other over the years. But we are out of time. I want to thank Dr. Wu Haifang and thank Dr. Marianne O'Donnell for our brief little conversation there about the changes we've witnessed here in Shenzhen. Dongning, back to you in Beijing.
Thank you very much, Omar, for your introduction of the situation in Shenzhen and also the insights from your guests. And now, We're going to be back shortly and continue with our special coverage on the 40th anniversary of Shenzhen. All right, now let's go back to our guest, Professor Liu Baocheng, for more discussions on the development of Shenzhen during the past 40 years. We discussed the achievements and also challenges, and also the model of Shenzhen. Is it copyable in China? Well, as China ramps up its efforts to boost integration of the Greater Bay Area, how do you see the role of Shenzhen in this area?
Actually, the experience of Shenzhen was really intended to proliferate across the country, and there has to be a waterfall effect. And right now, the Greater Bay Area combining 11 cities together and with 2 systems and 3 types of customs unions. So, this is really a fascinating project that is over there. It fills with challenges in terms of documentation and streamlining all the policy differences between, 3 different zones. But it's just because of that, the synergy is very high, because Hong Kong continue to serve the world financial hub and logistics center, where they are also transforming to high-end services and innovation. And Shenzhen has vast land territory, and so manufacturing will have to take place over there, particularly for pilot programs. And then the entire China is feeding Shenzhen in terms of their favorable immigration policy, with the super talent, with the industrial clusters over there. And so, therefore, there's quite a synergy. As for Macau, it's a fun place, with casinos, but they are also more upgrading to more of the education sector, and so that they are able to provide better management expertise. And right now, the number one attractiveness is per capita income. So the per capita income average in the Greater Bay Area is nearly $25,000 US. So this is really justifiable in piloting a number of new high-tech programs. And 2 is that the central government, after further integration with Hong Kong and Macau, is giving a lot of coordinating policies to support, and then the Shenzhen Hong Kong Connect in terms of the financial collaboration will be there, and now the foreign businesses. If you look at the most of the multinational companies, they all have their base over there, either at the production center or as the innovation or incubators over there. So this is really a stellar performance, and it's really there to overcome a lot of more prospects over there.
We can see that people have already been gathering at the site of the celebration to mark 40 years of Shenzhen since the Special Economic Zone was established. President Xi Jinping is going to give a speech there, and we'll give you a special coverage on that. Professor Liu, well, these days you've been mentioning Hong Kong, the relations between Hong Kong and Shenzhen. Are they standing at similar point?
I should say people talk a lot about whether they are in a competitive position or they are in a synergetic position. I think it's both. And,
all right, we have to leave it there, Professor Liu, and go back to the site of the celebration to mark 40 years of Shenzhen Special Economic Zone. People are gathering to prepare for the celebration, and President Xi Jinping is walking into the site.
General Secretary Xi Jinping, comrades, friends, guests. The celebration of the 40th anniversary of the establishment of the Shenzhen Special Economic Zone will now start. Now please rise for the anthem of the People's Republic of China. Please be seated. Today, we gather here for the grand celebration of the 40th anniversary of the establishment of the Shenzhen Special Economic Zone. Present at today's conference are General Secretary of the CPC Central Committee, President of People's Republic of China, and Chairman of the Central Military Commission, Xi Jinping. Member of the Standing Committee of the Political Bureau of the CPC Central Committee, Vice Premier of the State Council, Han Zheng. Members of the Political Bureau of the CPC Central Committee, Ding Xuexiang, Liu He, Chen Xi, Han Kunming. We also have with us leaders and comrades of our party and our country, chief executives from Hong Kong SAR and Macau SAR, comrades from the CPC Central Committee and State Departments, heads of provinces, cities, comrades from Guangdong, representatives from Hong Kong, Macau, and Taiwan, representatives from foreign countries, and also representatives from all walks of life from Shenzhen. Let's welcome all our leaders and guests attending this conference and express our heartfelt gratitude to all friends from home and abroad that have participated in, cared about, and supported the development of Shenzhen Special Economic Zone and Guangdong's reform and development. Now, I would like to invite the Deputy Secretary of CPC Guangdong Provincial Committee and Secretary of CPC Shenzhen Municipal Committee, Wang Weizhong, to deliver a speech.
Your Excellency, President Xi Jinping, leaders, dear guests, today marks a significant day of Shenzhen's Special Economic Zone. The Central Party Committee is holding a 40th anniversary celebration of the establishment of Shenzhen Special Economic Zone. We will listen to the important address given by General Secretary Xi Jinping, and we have with us a lot of important leaders and guests. On behalf of Shenzhen CPC Committee, Shenzhen Municipal Government, and all the citizens, I'd like to extend my sincere gratitude and welcome to President Xi Jinping and all the leaders and guests. Shenzhen Special Economic Zone was born in a historical juncture when the party and the country has put the priority of the work to economic construction. And we have gained our growth in the title of reform and opening up. Looking back to the 4 decades in the past, we felt our heart are filled with gratitude, pride, and confidence. Looking back, we are grateful for the care and support of the CPC Party Committee during the past 4 decades. Shenzhen, for each step we have made, have gained solid support and leadership from the Central Party Committee. Mr. Comrade Deng Xiaoping himself designated Shenzhen as the first special economic zone. Comrade Jiang Zemin, Comrade Hu Jintao have given concrete support and care to the development of the Special Economic Zone. Upon the 18th CPC National Congress, General Secretary Xi Jinping have chosen Guangdong and Shenzhen as his first stop, and to announce to the world that we will be determined in our reform and opening up. Upon the 19th CPC National Congress, at the 40th anniversary of reform and opening up, General Secretary Xi Jinping has once again came to Guangdong, Shenzhen, and encouraged us to start again to make more miracles and impress the world. He himself planned, deployed, and promoted Hong Kong, Macau, Guangdong, Greater Bay Area, Shenzhen Pilot Demonstration Area, and Comprehensive Pilot Zone, and among with other important strategies. And he is leading us in the new way of China's nation's great rejuvenation. Today, we are proud of the achievement we made in the past 40 years. Shenzhen has kept in mind the strategic intention of the Central Party Committee. We will adhere to the leadership of the CPC Party Committee, hold high the great banner of socialism with Chinese characteristics. We have dared to pilot and to implement. Our original GDP has increased from 270 million yuan in year 1980 to 2.7 trillion last year. We have become the top 5 in Asia and top 30 in the world. We have created miracle in the world. Since the 18th CPC Party Committee, Shenzhen has followed the guidance of President Xi Jinping to forge ahead. We have implemented our belief of never stop in reform and opening up to optimize our business environment and to put it as the #1 reform project. The business entity and entrepreneurship intensity ranks the first in the major city in China. We also attach high importance to high-quality development. Our regional average GDP ranks the first in Chinese mainland. The per GDP energy consumption, water consumption is also the lowest in China. Our local enterprises have been recognized as the Fortune 500, and previously we only have 3 enterprises in the year 2012. Now we have more than 8. Also, we have practiced innovation-driven development strategy. We have increased our GDP input from 3.81% in 2012 to 4.93% in 2019. The total amount of international patent application of PCT accounts for 30.6% in China. Also, we have established an all-cycle ecological chain featured by basic research, cutting-edge technology, industrialization, fintech, and talents. Also, we have stick to the principle of people-oriented approach. In the year 2012, we have keep investing in basic education. We have realized full access to basic education. We have doubled the number of high-quality hospitals and realized quality and also development in great numbers. We have practiced the principle of Luxit water and large mountains are invalid access. In the past 4 years, we have accumulated input over 120 billion yuan. And also, we have reached the national level and international level in the control of air. We have made Shenzhen a beautiful city with green air, with green water, and with clean air. Shenzhen has become an international city with innovative spirit, full of charm, vitality, and innovation. This year, in face of the unprecedented COVID-19 pandemic, we have unswervingly followed the decision and deployment made by the Central Committee and the Secretary General. We have used only 1 month to put the pandemic under control, only 2 months to restore the production and to restore the economic level to the same period of the last year. Moreover, we have worked together with Hong Kong to control and prevent the pandemic. Because of this, the local economic development has been improving and increasing with more business entities. So we see that the overseas investors and capitals are optimistic about Guangdong, Shenzhen, and China's future. The past 40 years is only an instant moment, but Shenzhen has witnessed profound changes. The 40 years of practice made us realize that without the strong leadership of the CPC party, without the systematic advantage of socialism with Chinese characteristics, and without the great revolution of reform and opening up, and without Xi Jinping's new era socialism thinking with Chinese characteristics, and also without the guidance and support of the Chinese people, we cannot see the momentum developed by Shenzhen today. So I'd like to extend my warmest congratulations and heartfelt thanks to the party committee and the General Secretary for their support, and also we will work hard to forge forward. Looking into the future, we are confident that we will follow the guidance of building a pilot demonstration zone with China's characteristics and to make it a model city of modern socialism. We will also make Shenzhen into a development highland with great quality. And also we will create a dual cycle with domestic cycle playing the leading role. We will also build up the city's spiritual civilization, and to benchmark our development with the livelihood and happiness of our citizens, so that people can share and benefit from the result of our development. We also will focus on sustainable development, take the lead in building the balance between human and nature. We know that history always favors those who work hard, who tries, and who fight hard. 40 years ago, history chose Shenzhen as the starting point, and Shenzhen created miracles. Today, we are chosen again by the times, so we have to work hard and unite at the core of General Secretary Xi Jinping to enhance the full awareness, the full confidence to maintenance, and also seize the chance of the Greater Bay Area, pilot demonstration zone, and comprehensive reform. We will benchmark ourselves with the goal of 2025, 2035, and also the goal of the middle stage of this century. We will unswervingly implement the spirit and essence given by in the talk given by President Xi Jinping, and shoulder the responsibility to build this special economic zone. We will give a satisfying result to the country, to this party committee, to President Xi Jinping, and also to the citizens. Thank you very much.
Now, I would like to invite Mr. Chen Zhilie, Chairman of the Board of EVOC Group, to deliver a speech. Your Excellency, General Secretary Xi Jinping, leaders, guests, I'm Chen Zhilie from EVOC Group. I would like to share with you our story with Shenzhen as a special economic zone, with our development in the past 27 years. First, I want to say that the birth of our company was a result of a positive policy of our party. In March 1992, coincidentally, I came to Shenzhen and I felt by myself the trend of entrepreneurship and reform in the city after the 1,000 inspection made by Comrade Deng Xiaoping. Moved by the story of the spring, I decided to quit my job as someone working with the Aviation Research Institute based in Beijing. Together with 4 friends, all of whom are postgraduate students, we started our own endeavor in the year 1993, and we chose the sector of industrial control computer. We started from scratch, and we encouraged each other despite all the difficulties in our working place, venues, capital, and conditions for us to start. However, we understood that it was necessary for us to have some purpose larger than ourselves. That is why we have had the name of the company. A person has to act along the trend and tide of our time and fully devote him or herself into that trend. Can he really benefit from what he or she has been doing? So for years, I've been telling my employees that we have to unswervingly follow the guidance of the party, because our development is in itself a very good example. Second, the development of our company benefits a lot from the unique gene of opening innovation in the special economic zone of Shenzhen. In the past 40 years since the establishment of Shenzhen as a special economic zone, we have seen generations of entrepreneurs, and they have different attempts and different practice in the city in the exploration of success. And such a unique gene is really important to innovation of enterprises. For high-tech private companies, innovation is our only way out. And here we have a series of important elements supporting elevation, ranging from highly market-oriented development environment, fault-tolerant atmosphere, and highly efficient research result transfer mechanism. So in such an environment, after our years of hard work, we have finally produced an EVOC embedded product. With that, we have successfully filled the blank in relevant sectors, and for many times, we have won first prize of National Scientific and Technological Award, and we were also included in the National Torch Plan. Our development in Shenzhen in the past 27 years is an epitome of Shenzhen's high-tech sector development. It is our honor and privilege to have developed together with Shenzhen a city of reform and opening up, full of gene of opening up, reform, and innovation. Thirdly, our company will unswervingly create and innovate for the development of national brands. Today, after 40 years of reform and opening up, the special economic zones will be given more important responsibilities, and enterprises like us should also be able to shoulder greater responsibility in this new era. As we are working in the front line of this market-oriented economy, we have felt the support and guidance from CBC Central Committee, General Secretary, and leaders and CBC Party Committee at the various levels. And also we have felt the support from the government, so that all these have made us more determined and confident in our future development, so that we are now more confident in our independent and indigenous innovation. I believe this spirit is not only for the success of individuals, but also important for the success of enterprises. With such spirit, we will have more confidence that we can better operate and manage an enterprise, and we can create a very successful national brands, and we can also take the lead not only in China but also in the world in terms of a special type of computers. As pointed out by General Secretary Xi Jinping, core technology with self-indigenous intellectual property right is the core for the development of enterprises. Looking in the future, we will firmly remember all these important words from our General Secretary, and always remember where we started in the beginning, and further motivate ourselves with entrepreneurship and innovation, and make full use of the opportunity brought by the development of Guangdong, Hong Kong, Macau, Greater Bay Area, and the pilot demonstration area of socialism with Chinese characteristics, so that we can better promote our own development and contribute more to the development of the special economic zone as well as China's innovation-driven development. Thank you.
The next speaker is Mr. Lu Jianxin from China's Construction, Science and Industrial Limitation South China Branch. Your Excellency, General Secretary Xi Jinping, dear leaders, dear guests, my name is Lu Jianxin. I am an architecture engineer from China's Construction Services and Science and Industrial Limited Corporation. I'm very honored to represent a builder from Shenzhen to give a speech here. In October 1982, I received a letter from my friends in Hubei. It depicted the construction site of Shenzhen Special Economic Zone. He said to me that they are going to build the first high building in China with over 50 levels. As an architecture, I felt very excited about this news. So without hesitation, I hop up on the train to go south. I still remember the moment when I walked out Luohu station. What I saw was only low buildings, muddy road, and very backward construction site. I felt a little bit disappointed. I told myself that as an architecture, maybe what attracted me most is a possibility to create a high building, a skyscraper. Now, looking back, I am amazed that I participate a great cause and I witnessed a miracle of the times. What I can not forget is especially the time in the year 1982 when we built the Tower of International Trade. We only used some very simple rooms or hubs made of bamboo. It always leaks water in rainy days. But even in this kind of very difficult situation, we are still full of dream and passion. At that time, the speed of construction was almost 10 days for one level with traditional method. But upon our different kinds of trial and experiment, we have innovated the construction way and created the Shenzhen speed by building one level within merely 3 days. And this is just a small moment, an instant moment of the miracles happening in Shenzhen. I also found it unforgettable that in the year 1994, when I came to the construction site of Diwang Tower, we were to build a first skyscraper, or the skyscraper in Asia, that with a height of 384 meters. I felt very excited at that time, but it was both challenging and dangerous. Every day, I will carry some equipment of over 20 kilograms to walk around high up in the air on stilts. Frankly speaking, I was scared, but I have to be responsible and cannot say no or give up. So when we completed the task, the error was only within 25 millimeters. So you can see that every success was accumulated by those meticulous efforts. And also, I cannot forget, after the 18th CPC's National Congress, I was honored to participate the building of a Ping An Financial Center with a height of 599 meters. We have designed a new way of weighting system, which have shortened the period of construction and also lower the cost. This also won Golden Prize Award in the Geneva International Invention Fair. This year, because of the COVID-19, we have made another miracle within only 20 days to build a hospital for emergency response with over 1,000 beds. So all of this shows Shenzhen speed and Shenzhen quality. During the past 40 years, we grew up together with Shenzhen. We felt her pulse, her heartbeat. We have experienced bitterness, tiredness. We have cried and laughed. We start from zero to now a miracle. So you can see that we have great potential under the leadership of the CPC party. And also because of the reform and opening up, we are creating all of these miracles. as pointed out by General Secretary Xi Jinping, builders or fighters are those who know happiness and who enjoy happiness. I was born in 1960s. I have gone through both hard time and good times. So I felt in my deep heart that this is the best time right now. And because our CBC party put people at our heart and also always adhere to people-oriented approach in its development. And because of this, it united a lot of builders just like me. Together, we created a great miracle. So I would like to extend my gratitude to the great CBC party, the great times, who have achieved our cause. I will cherish this very valuable chances of my life and keep fighting. Thank you very much.
Now, let's welcome General Secretary of the CPC Central Committee, President of the People's Republic of China and Chairman of the Central Military Commission, Xi Jinping, with a warm round of applause. Ladies and gentlemen, comrades, today we gather here for the celebration of the 40th anniversary of Shenzhen and other special economic zones to summarize experience in the development of special economic zones, press ahead with reform and opening up at a higher level, mobilize the whole party, the whole country, and the whole society to unite and work hard for the construction of a modern socialist country and the realization of the second centenary goal. The establishment of special economic zones is a great move made by our party and our country to promote reform, opening up, and socialist modernization. In December 1978, the third plenary session of the 11th CPC Central Committee made a historical decision to shift the focus of the work of our party and country to economic development and start the journey of reform and opening up, and to mobilize the whole party and people of all ethnic groups throughout the country to start a new long march for socialist modernization drive. In April 1979, the then head of the CPC Guangdong Provincial Committee proposed to leaders of the CPC Central Committee the establishment of export processing zones and the promotion of reform and opening up. Comrade Deng Xiaoping indicated clearly that special zone would be a better name. The CPC Central Committee could offer some policies, and people from these areas would be free to choose what to do to blaze a new trail. In July 1979, the CPC Central Committee and the State Council approved that Guangdong and Fujian provinces would be forerunners by adopting special policies and flexible measures and piloting special export zone. In August 1980, our party and country approved the establishment of 4 special economic zones in Shenzhen, Zhuhai, Shantou, and Xiamen. In April 1988, our party and country approved the establishment of Hainan as a special economic zone, pointing out that special economic zones should serve as important windows and examples of China's reform, opening up, and socialist modernization drive. For a long time, under the strong leadership of the CPC Central Committee, with support from throughout the country, the special economic zones have emancipated their minds for reform and innovation, fulfilled their missions, and these pioneers and tide riders have written a splendid chapter in the construction of socialism with Chinese characteristics, and have made important contribution to our reform, opening up, and socialist modernization drive. Ladies and gentlemen, comrades, Guangdong is the vanguard, pioneer, and experimental zone of China's reform and opening up. The province was the earliest established and the largest number of special economic zones. Shenzhen, as a brand new city created by our party and people since reform and opening up, is a splendid drawing of socialism with Chinese characteristics on a piece of blank paper. Working through difficulties and hardships, officials and people in Shenzhen have completed a journey within 40 years that would have taken around 100 years to finish by metropolises from other countries. This is a miracle created by Chinese people in the history of world development. In the past 4 decades, Shenzhen worked relentlessly to emancipate and develop social productivity and promoted vigorously scientific and technological innovation. Its regional GDP rose from 270 million yuan in 1980 to 2.7 trillion yuan in 2019, an annual growth of 20.7%. Its economic aggregate now ranks the 5th among Asian cities. Its fiscal revenue increased from less than 100 million yuan to 942.4 billion yuan. The city has achieved a historical leap from a backward remote town to a metropolis with global influence. In the past 4 decades, with its adherence to emancipating the mind and advancing with times, Shenzhen took the lead in carrying out market-oriented economic system reform and pioneered in adopting over 1,000 measures of reform, creating an epic with concrete actions and hard work. Shenzhen has achieved a historical leap from economic system reform to deepened reform in all aspects. In the past 4 decades, with its adherence to both bringing in and going global, Shenzhen has actively utilized international and domestic markets and resources, and has actively attracted global investment. Shenzhen's import and export volume rose from $18 million in 1980 to $431.5 billion in 2019, an annual increase of 26.1%. With these, Shenzhen has realized a historical leap from import-export trade being the mainstay to opening up at a high level in all aspects. In the past 40 years, with its adherence to the development of socialist democratic politics and its respect to people at the center of all of its work, Shenzhen has strengthened the development of socialist spiritual civilization, actively cultivated and practiced socialist core values, and as a result, the city has realized a historical leap from economic development to coordinated development of socialist material civilization, political civilization, spiritual civilization, social civilization, and ecological civilization. In the past 4 decades, with its adherence to the people-oriented philosophy, Shenzhen has made remarkable achievements in enhancing people's livelihood and has realized transformation in education, healthcare, housing, and other sectors. In 2019, Shenzhen's per capita disposable income reached 62.5 thousand yuan, increasing by 31.6 times on the 1985 level. Leading in achieving the target of comprehensively building a moderately prosperous society, Shenzhen has made a historical leap from subsistence to achieving high-quality, comprehensive, moderately prosperous society. 40 years in the past have witnessed flowers in spring growing into fruits in autumn. I still remember the groundbreaking sound in Shekou in the early days. Now, Shenzhen, a special economic zone with great vitality, is showing to the world the power of China's reform and opening up, and the bright future of socialism with Chinese characteristics. What appears to be usual may turn out to be just the opposite. Success and achievement never come easy. Each and every step made by Shenzhen and other special economic zones in their development is not easy. It is the result of their hard work. The achievements are the result of the strong leadership of the CBC Central Committee, the result of the pioneering work of officials and the general public, and the result of extensive support from people throughout the nation and from all sectors. Here, on behalf of the CBC Central Committee, the State Council, and the Central Military Commission, I would like to extend my sincere greetings to the builders of special economic zones, to all comrades that have contributed to the construction of special economic zones. I would also like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to all the guests and friends from home and abroad that have cared about and supported the development of special economic zones.
Ladies and gentlemen, comrades, the successful practice of Shenzhen Special Economic Zone and other special economic zones has fully proven that the strategic decision made by the CPC Central Committee is correct. The special economic zones should not only be continued to be run, but also be better run and run to a high level. Shenzhen and other special economic zones, with the past 40 years of practice of reform and opening up, have achieved great miracles and accumulated valuable experience, and deepened our understanding of rules in building a special economic zone of socialism with Chinese characteristics. First, we must adhere to the party's leadership and maintain the right direction of the development of the special economic zones. Second, we must adhere to and improve socialism with Chinese characteristics and make it even more mature and better established through reform. Third, we must carry out development with the courage to break the ground and to be the first, so that we could continue to lead the reform with breakthroughs, with innovative thinkings. Fourth, we must adhere to the opening up in all-round way and enhance the attractiveness of bringing in and the competitiveness of going global. Fifth, we must persist in innovation as the primary driving force and to gain the lead in global scientific reform and industrial reform. Sixth, we must adhere to people-oriented approach in development so that the achievements of reform and development could benefit more people in a fairer and more equitable way. Seventh, we must adhere to scientific legislation, strict law enforcement, justice, and universal law abiding, and make rule of law the essential guarantee of the development of special economic zones. Eighth, we must follow the philosophy of lucid water and large mountains are invaluable assets to realize comprehensive, coordinated, and sustainable development in economy, society, and ecological environment. Ninth, we must comprehensively and accurately implement the basic principles of one country, two systems to promote inclusive and mutually reinforcing development among Chinese mainland, Hong Kong, and Macau. 10th, we must play a leading role as special economic zones in a nationwide blueprint and make due contribution for national development. The above 10 issues are the valuable experience accumulated by special economic zones during the past 40 years of reform and opening up. These are significant guidance to the development of special economic zones in a new era. We must cherish it, continue to adhere to it, and constantly enrich and develop it in practice. Ladies and gentlemen, comrades, the world is undergoing profound changes never seen in a century. And the COVID-19 pandemic is accelerating this whole process. Economic globalization is facing reversing trends with rising protectionism and unilateralism. The world economy is weakening with decreasing international trade and investment. International economy, science and technology, culture, security and politics are all undergoing profound adjustments. The world has entered a transformation period with turbulence. China is now at the key stage of the great rejuvenation of the Chinese nation. Our economy has transformed from a phase featured by high-speed growth to one featured by high-quality growth. Our society is undergoing profound changes with people's growing needs for a better life, long-term positive economic trend, vast market potential, and resilient development drive. We are forming a new development pattern with domestic economic cycle playing a leading role, while international and domestic cycles mutually reinforce each other. At the same time, our economy is in a critical period of transformation of development modes, also optimization of economic structure, and shifts in driving forces. To achieve high-quality development, we still need to improve a lot. And the development of special economic zones is faced with difficulties and challenges. The new era calls for new responsibilities and new endeavors. In the development of the special economic zones in the new era, we should hold high the great banner of socialism with Chinese characteristics, comprehensively promote the five-sphere integrated plan and the four-point comprehensive strategy. We have to keep in mind the overall initiatives of our countries in the new development stage and implement new development concepts. We should promote high-quality development, shape new development landscape, and in the spirit of unswerving efforts, with readiness to brave difficulties, we will continue to reform and open it up. We will promote reform and opening up at a higher starting point and to open up new prospects for the work of special economic zones. To make new and greater contribution in the building of a modernized socialist country and the realization of the second centenary goal. The Central Committee has high expectations towards Shenzhen's reform and opening up, innovation and development. In August last year, the CPC Central Committee issued the guidelines on supporting Shenzhen in building a pilot demonstration area of socialism with Chinese characteristics. It is with comprehensive instructions. Shenzhen is to build itself into a pilot demonstration area of socialism with Chinese characteristics, and to become a model city of a great modern socialist country. Shenzhen should enhance its capacity and level in implementing new development concepts and persist in deepening reform comprehensively and expand opening up unswervingly. Shenzhen should also promote the development of Guangdong, Hong Kong, Macau, Greater Bay Area and enrich the new practice of one country, two systems. Shenzhen will also take the lead to realize socialist modernization. This is the historical mission of Shenzhen given by the CPC Central Committee in the new era. First, unswervingly implement the new development concept. Guangdong and Shenzhen's economy is comparatively developed. Hence, they face more restrictions on resources factors and greater pressure of global competition in technology, talents, and others. Therefore, the implementation of the new development concept for high-quality development is a fundamental way out. Development is our primary task. Talents are our number one resources. And innovation is the top driving force. We need to take the lead in promoting transformation in quality, efficiency, and driving force so as to achieve higher quality development that is more efficient, fair, and sustainable and secure. We need to stick to the supply-side structural reform as a major component and to leverage resources of production, distribution, circulation, and consumption in domestic market. We need to improve supply compatibility for domestic demand so that we could meet the growing needs of domestic market with high quality. We need to unswervingly implement innovation-driven development strategy to foster new engine and new trend so as to build a technological and industrial innovation high ground with global influence. We should deploy innovation chain according to industrial chain and align industrial chain with innovation chain. We should plan in advance strategic emerging industries, cultivate future industries, and develop digital economy. We should increase the input in basic research and applied basic research and give a full play to Shenzhen's advantage in industrial academic research synergy to take initiative in integrating with global innovation network. We will benchmark with global first-class standards, develop finance, R&D, design, accounting, law, conference and exhibition, and other modern tertiary industry. Also, we need to strengthen our competence or capacity level. We will implement more open talent policy to attract world-class strategic science and technology talents, leading science and technology talents, use science and technology talents and high-level innovation talent teams to leverage global brain power. Second, comprehensively deepen reform in line with the times. The road of reform is never ending. The road of reform is never smooth. Currently, reform is at a new historical juncture, with many unprecedented challenges emerging. So the complexity, sensitivity, and difficulty of pushing forward reform are no smaller than 4 decades ago. Therefore, we must, with greater political courage and wisdom, stick to the combination of crossing the river while filling the stone and strengthening top-level design. We will deepen the reform in crucial areas and key links with the right timing. We will pay more attention to the systematic, holistic, and coordinated effects of the reform, so that to enhance the comprehensive effect of the reform.
Through in-depth research, the CBC Central Committee has decided to take the 40th anniversary of the establishment of the Special Economic Zones as an opportunity to support the comprehensive reform pilot in Shenzhen. Vest Shenzhen with more independent power in reforms in key areas and critical links through lists of batch authorizations, and launch 27 reform measures and the first batch of 40 authorization items. Shenzhen Special Economic Zone should shoulder its responsibilities, firmly follow the right direction, emancipate people's minds, and carry the essence of socialism with Chinese characteristics and innovate. The city should introduce a series of major reform measures in key areas and achieve a group of major replicable results in institutional innovation. It should focus on solving real problems, facing high-quality development, address the needs for developing a higher-level socialist market economic system, plan for strategic and defining reforms, push forward creative and pioneering reforms so as to pilot and pioneer in making improvements in key areas such as a market-oriented vector distribution mechanism, an integrated development mechanism for innovation chains and industrial chains, a market-oriented, law-based and internationalized business environment, a high-level open economic system, a supply system for livelihood services, a governance mechanism for ecological environment and urban spaces, etc. The city should optimize government management and services, implement the mechanisms of power list, responsibility list, and negative list in a comprehensive manner, and step up the formation of a close yet clean relationship between the government and businesses. We should also further galvanize and promote the entrepreneurship spirit, protect the legitimate rights and interests of entrepreneurs, property rights, as well as intellectual property rights in accordance with the law, so as to motivate entrepreneurs to start up and develop their businesses. Third, we should strive to pioneer and further open up in a comprehensive manner. Currently, the world economy is confronted with complicated challenges. By no means should we be stopped by the reversing trends and tides. We should choose the right side of the history, To unswervingly further open up in a comprehensive manner, press ahead with developing an open world economy and push forward the building of the community of a shared future for mankind. The new development pattern is not a closed domestic cycle, but an open domestic and international dual cycle. We should optimize and upgrade our production, distribution, circulation, and consumption systems, strengthen domestic economic connections, and enhance the economic intensity, improve the capabilities of smoothing the domestic cycle and connecting the international and domestic dual cycle, ramp up the institutional opening up of rules and standards, and take the lead to build a new open economic system at a higher level. We should explore more flexible policy systems and scientific management regimes in domestic and international trade, investment and financing, fiscal and taxation policy, financial innovation, entry and exit policy, etc., so as to enhance multi-layered and wide-ranging pragmatic cooperation. With the Belt and Road countries and regions. The more we open up, the more we should pay attention to security. We should strike a balance between the two important issues of development and security by improving our abilities in competition, open regulation, and risk control. Fourth, we should push forward the modernization of urban governance system and capabilities with innovative mentality. Over the past 40 years of high-speed development, Shenzhen Special Economic Zone has witnessed profound transformation in its urban space structures, ways of production, organizational models, and operational mechanism, presenting the city with numerous challenges, such as tremendous pressure on urban governance and lack of development spaces. We should foster an all-cycle management philosophy, speed up the modernization of our urban governance system and capabilities, so as to blaze a new trail of governance that matches the characteristics and patterns of mega cities. We should place emphasis on law-based governance, learn to address challenges in urban management with law-based mentality and approaches, making rule of law the consensus and basic norm of the society. Importance should be attached, adopting a scientific, meticulous, and intelligent approach. The city should leverage the advantages in the development of its information industry to promote innovation in urban management methods, models, and philosophies, so as to make the city operate in a smarter and more intelligent way. Fifth, we should put into practice the people-oriented development philosophy with concrete actions. The root and foundation of the Communist Party of China lie in the people, whose aspirations for a better life have set the goal for our endeavors. The starting point and focus of the reform and development of the special economic zones should be based on that goal as well. Our people know best whether they are living a good life or not. We should start with recurrent problems that our people are most concerned about and feel most strongly about. Introduce more reform and innovation measures to tackle problems in employment, education, healthcare, social security, housing, elderly care, food safety, ecological environment, public security, among others, one by one, in a bid to offer a higher sense of accomplishment, more endurable happiness, and better guaranteed security to the people. We should respect the innovation initiative of the people and continuously draw on their innovation and creativity in the development of the special economic zones. We should prioritize balanced development, endeavor to provide the community level with more access to public services, construct a premium and balanced public service system, and build a universal and sustainable social security system. We should incessantly conduct normalized epidemic prevention and control and draw on past experience to improve our weaknesses in public health.
Sixth, we should vigorously deepen the development of the Guangdong, Hong Kong, Macau Greater Bay Area. The Greater Bay Area is a major development strategy of the country, with Shenzhen being an important engine in its development. We should seize the major historical opportunities in the development of the Greater Bay Area and promote the alignment of economic rules and institutions of Guangdong, Hong Kong, and Macau, accelerate the development of intercity railways in the Greater Bay Area to facilitate the efficient and convenient flow of personnel, goods, and other factors, and enhance the integration of the markets. We should fully deepen reform and opening up of the Qianhai Shenzhen Hong Kong Modern Service Industry Cooperation Zone, plan and execute well the construction of Shenzhen Hong Kong Science and Technological Innovation Zone in Lok Ma Chau Loop, and speed up the construction of Hengqin, Guangdong, Macau In-Depth Cooperation Zone. We should leverage the construction of the pilot launching area of Comprehensive National Science Center in the Greater Bay Area to enhance synergy and coordination with resources of innovation in Hong Kong and Macau. We should also continue to encourage and guide our compatriots in Hong Kong, Macau, and Taiwan, as well as overseas Chinese, to play their important roles in investment, entrepreneurship, and two-way openness, so that they can make new contribution to the development of the special economic zones. We should also fully utilize the important platform of Guangdong, Hong Kong, Macau Cooperation to attract more young people from Hong Kong and Macau to study, work, and live in the mainland. This will help boost extensive exchanges, comprehensive communication between youth in Guangdong, Hong Kong, and Macau, and increase their sense of belonging to the motherland. Relevant departments of the CPC Central Committee and the central government should work together to comprehend the strategic intention of the CPC Central Committee and give full support to the reform and development work of Shenzhen and other special economic zones. Following the requirement of promoting the five-sphered integrated plan and the four-pronged strategy, this department should support special economic zones in deepening reform and opening up, engaging in cutting-edge scientific and technological innovation, developing strategic emerging industries, fostering high-level opening up, strengthening the development of democratic rules of law, enhancing the building of eco-civilization, strengthening socialist spiritual civilization, increasing the support and betterment of people's livelihood, reforming and innovating social governance, improving the building of ecological civilization and other work, so that we could provide scientific guide and strong support to the reform and development of the special economic zones in a new era. Ladies and gentlemen and comrades, the blossom of a single flower cannot represent spring. Only the blossom of 100 flowers signals the arrival of spring. We have unswervingly upheld the opening up principle featuring mutual benefits and win-win, which means we cannot only garner development momentum from the world. We should also make sure that China's development benefits the world. The practice of special economic zones in the past 4 decades cannot have been completed without the joint participation from countries around the world. It also has created a room for development and shared dividends with different countries. So China welcomes countries of the world to take more part in the reform and opening up and development of our special economic zone, and build a new landscape based on joint consultation, joint development, mutual benefit, and win-win results. Ladies and gentlemen, comrades, special economic zones are at the forefront of the reform and opening up and bear high requirements on strengthening the overall leadership and party building of the CPC. We should fully implement the new overall requirement on party building in a new era. With a spirit of reform and innovation, Shenzhen serves as a pilot demonstration in strengthening the overall leadership and party building of CPC and expand the coverage of primary party organizations. All party members and cadres should reaffirm their ideals and convictions, replenish their knowledge and concepts, master solid skills, and voluntarily plan and execute their work with a whole picture of the party and country in mind. We need to establish an improved and incentive mechanism, channeling it towards the right direction of promoting the capable and demoting the incapable, rewarding the outstanding and eliminating the underperforming. This mechanism should also serve as a safety net for those who reform and assume responsibilities, so as to boost the passion and momentum of party members and cadres to work. We need to relentlessly clear the party with strong discipline and crack down corruption, stand strong against formalism, bureaucracy, and nurture a clean political ecosystem. Socialism with Chinese characteristics going hand in hand with material civilization and spiritual civilization. So we should give equal importance to material civilization and spiritual civilization and achieve outstanding results. We should strengthen the education on ideals and convictions, cultivate and exercise the socialist core values, deepen the publicity and education on the socialism with Chinese characteristics and Chinese dream. We should educate and guide officials and general public, in particular the youth, to consolidate their confidence in the path, the theory, the institution, and the culture of socialism with Chinese characteristics. We need to promote the national spirit centered on patriotism and the spirit of the times centered on reform and innovation. Continue to pass on the spirit of special economic zones featuring enterprising, pioneering, and industrialists, and encourage the general public to be the trailblazers of the new eras. We need to extensively carry out spiritual civilization building activities among the general public, carry out education on social morality, work ethics, family virtues, and individual integrity, so as to constantly increase the cultural attainment and social civilization. We need to build more culture infrastructure for public use and advance the high-quality development of cultural industries to better meet people's new expectation on culture life. Ladies, gentlemen, and comrades, with the glory journey of the past 4 decades behind us, the new road ahead is more aspiring. The great changes taking place in the special economic zones are derived from the great endeavors and hard efforts of generation of special economic zone builders. At the new starting point, the people of the special economic zones should unswervingly implement the decision and deployment of the CPC Central Committee, maintain the spirit of pioneering, the momentum of innovating, the approach of hard working, and strive to write more stories of the spring and create new and greater miracles that amaze the world.
Comrades, friends, guests, just now, in his important speech, General Secretary Xi Jinping summarized the achievements and valuable experience of the special economic zones since their establishment, fully acknowledged the important contribution made by the special economic zones to China's reform, opening up, and socialist modernization drive, and expressed solemnly determination to better develop special economic zones, and also pointed out new requirements and important deployment of the development of Special Economic Zone in Shenzhen for the new era and reform and development of Guangdong. We need to follow the guide of General Secretary Xi Jinping's speech, gather around the CPC Central Committee as Comrade Xi Jinping at its core, hold high the banner of Xi Jinping thought of socialism with Chinese characteristics for the new era, enhance the full consciousness, stick to full-pronged confidence, and practice two upholds, shoulder historical responsibility, start a new journey of reform and opening up, and strive to create new and bigger miracles that will amaze the world and make a greater contribution to the realization of the two centenary goals and the realization of the Chinese dream of national rejuvenation. This is the end of the celebration. Thank you very much.
That was the grand ceremony celebrating the 40th anniversary of the Shenzhen Special Economic Zone, and President Xi Jinping made a keynote speech. At the event, he reviewed the history and also development of Shenzhen Economic Zone, affirmed Shenzhen's contributions on China's reform, opening up and modernization. And he also delivered the central government's expectations on Shenzhen's future development. And he also addressed the global challenges that China is facing in terms of economic development. And now for more insight into the past 40 years of Shenzhen's development and also the keynote speech of President Xi Jinping on the ceremony, let's talk again to Professor Liu Baocheng, who is now in the studio with me. Well, first of all, about President Xi Jinping's speech. When we talk about Shenzhen, the two Chinese characters does not only represent the name of the city, but also the whole concept, the whole history of China's reform and opening up. It's a symbol, rather.
Right.
So from President Xi Jinping's speech, have you sensed the tone of China's strong resolution of keeping opening up and reform?
Yes, and the world has been debating whether we are going forward for further globalization and regional integration, or are we going to have anti-globalization or retreat back to lockdown of a country's economy. So China occupies a dominant position in this debate. And right now, this speech is not only there to talk to people in Shenzhen, but talk to people of China, people around the world, that China is highly resolved not only to keep the open door policy, but rather to elevate the sophistication level of the open door policy. And so therefore he proposed the two strong lists. One is shortened list of companies in operation, and the list of government power that needs to be transparent and constrained. So this is really a very important line that is drawn between the government or the political power versus the economic might. And the whole gist of reform and opening is really there to serve the people. So do people really benefit from it? Do people's real demand are being met by the supply side? So this is the key. And in the beginning of the opening, particularly in Shenzhen, and there was a very popular slogan that time is money, efficiency is life. But now Xi's speech is there to say, okay, it's not only time and efficiency, but also the quality that really matters now. And in order to provide a quality lifestyle of those people and quality supply chain, we need to upgrade the industrial structure and further improve the ideological management for better governance of the city.
Like President Xi said, reform and opening up are always on the way. Right. Thank you very much, Professor Liu Baocheng, for discussing the achievements and also challenges that Shenzhen has been facing actually, and also the significance of the keynote speech by President Xi Jinping. Thank you very much, Professor Liu. And with that, we come to the end of this special coverage on the celebrations of the 40 years anniversary of Shenzhen Special Economic Zone. We leave you with a collection of snapshots of Shenzhen's landmarks, so stay tuned.